Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and yes, I've only bloomin' played Sonic Colors Ultimate now, haven't I? Which is the entire point of this video. Yep, Sega invited me to play the game, and that's what I went and bloomin' did. There are a few caveats to that, of course, in the current climate. I didn't go to Sega and play the Switch version. They didn't send me the Switch version. Instead, it was, because it's a preview, it was streamed. Like, it's streamed over something called Parsec, which I've used before. So it was kind of, they were streaming the game to me and my inputs were controlling it. So there was some input delay, and also, obviously, you're going to be looking at a screen capture of a streamed video, so it's not going to look great. Also, obviously, it wasn't the Switch version, it was the PC version, because that was, you know, that's how the streaming system works and everything. So, yeah, I haven't played the Switch version, but I have still played the game. It's the same game at its core, and that's what we want to focus on. Also, bear in mind, as I said, the footage is not going to look fantastic, and it is not representative of the Switch version at all, or indeed any version, because it's been streamed and then screen captured and compressed about 14 different times. So, bear all that in mind. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Can I surprise you? It's still Sonic Colors. Yeah, at the end of the day, this is still Sonic Colors. It's still the same Wii game that has been remastered, up-resed, and all that. Not up-resed, it's running at a higher native resolution. And yeah, it's still Sonic Colors though. It's exactly the same game at its core, and yes, it's very good. Sonic Colors is a very good game. If that's all you wanted to hear for this preview, then well, you're done. But please hang around a bit longer, eh? There are some changes that they've touted, and they've added some new stuff in. They've remastered all the music. The only one of which that I actually noticed any significant difference is the opening cutscene music, which sounded... I genuinely thought it was a new recording at first, and then the vocals came in, and it's like, oh no, it's the same, they just remixed it slightly, as in like an actual remix where you change the levels rather than like going, whoa, remix. God, I sound old. And it's fine, but I didn't really notice it in the other areas, so it's a bit difficult to pass any judgment without comparing them side by side, which is something that I will no doubt do in the future, but in this instance, it wasn't practical to do so. That's one of the differences. The other things that they've got, there's things like one of the new inclusions is, what is it, Rival Rush mode, I think it's called, where you race against Metal Sonic, and I have no footage of it because it wasn't available to me, or at least I didn't find it. I did look, I really looked, I only had half an hour to play, and I didn't find it, so I have no opinions on that front. Hey. When playing through the game, there were a few smaller tweaks here and there that I definitely noticed, and generally I think, maybe not necessarily for the better. I mean, obviously, the game looks a lot, you know, it looks a lot better than the Wii original. The original was a Wii game, this was now a PC version that I was playing. The Switch version also has up-res and everything. I do know for a fact, because I asked them, the Switch version does run at 30 frames a second. It was suspected for a long time, but now we know, guaranteed from Sega themselves, they said it runs at 30 frames a second, so how's about that? There's a number of instances in the game where you step on a switch in order to, like, start, like, getting progress somewhere. Usually, like, a handle comes down or something, and sometimes you'll press a button and some enemies will appear, and you have to defeat them, and then the handle comes down, or, you know, something happens to allow you to progress. So it's kind of like a, whoa, stop, you know, and defeat some enemies. It's not out of this world. And that's the same. What they have done now, though, for some reason, and I don't know why, is you'll step on these switches, and Tails will pipe up and it'll go, "You pressing that switch spawns some Eggman robots!" And I get why they've done it. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of irritating, but it's really not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. I had to go with the Jade Ghost Wisp as well, which is a new wisp, and it appears in places where, well, I don't know for certain, because obviously I haven't played the whole game, but it seemed to be in areas where there was no wisp before. Like, there's an area, well, you'll be seeing it now, that's easier than me trying to describe it, and there's a Jade Ghost Wisp there, and there was no wisp there before. I know that for a fact, because I always used to go that way. And it's kind of useful. It opens up certain areas, like certain new areas, they have like little things like they have these little park tokens that you can collect now, and they unlock customization. And customization is something that I also wasn't allowed to have a look at. So, yeah. But it's basically just another little collectible, and I don't think there's a limit per se, because you can get them as well. Like at the end of a level, you would, in the original, you get like a ranking and a score and everything, and if your score was an A or above, I think, you would get an extra life. Woo! And now there are no lives, essentially. You get like these Tails saves, which means if you fall off, Tails respawns you like really close to where you were rather than the previous checkpoint. Interesting idea. Be interesting to see how it works in the long run. But you don't get one of them, you get a park token, so that goes towards your customization, which is a pretty cool thing. Rather than being something temporary that you use up in a level, it's something that is actually kind of progression, but kind of secondary progression. I think that's genuinely a good improvement. What was interesting, and something that I could even tell over the streamed image, is the fact that the cutscenes, they're the same as the original, but they've been upscaled, like AI upscaling. And it's pretty much the same sort of thing that they did with Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario 3D All-Stars. And you know what? It looks all right. I'm just assuming they don't have the original files. You know, they've just got the actual pre-rendered stuff, and they just upscaled it instead. Or maybe it was cheaper or something. I'm assuming the former. You know, they lost the original files. They generally look all right. You know, they're not out of this world. You can tell it's upscaled if you're looking for it, but overall, it's pretty good. Would be better if it was, you know, like the original files that they rendered again at higher resolution, but it's fine. It's better than it not being upscaled at all and looking weirdly low res, so haha. There's one thing as well, it's really minor, but there's, well, I'll show you some footage where you can see it. If you look at the lasers that are coming out of these enemies, and you gotta move the platform and everything, understandable. You look at the lasers, as they're going off screen, the lasers disappear before they're off screen, and that's a bit weird. They're basically being culled out because there's no need to render them if they're off screen. However, they're not fully off screen yet, so it's a bit weird. I'm guessing maybe it's tied to the object rather than the lasers themselves, and so the object is properly out of screen. That's weird. I don't remember that from the original, but it could well be, and my first thought was, aha, it was in the original, and they're culled out because it was 4:3. Forgetting that it wasn't 4:3, the game was 16:9, so presumably they would have taken that into account. I don't know why that's there. Maybe it's not going to be in the final product. I thought I'd mention it, but all in all, this is Sonic Colors. It's Sonic Colors again. It's literally the same game. There are a few tweaks here and there. I don't know whether there's any major changes in the level design. I did ask them, and they sort of gave a bit of a vague answer. I'll tell you what, I'll read it out. Visual upgrades aside, the levels for the most part are the exact same today as they were in the original release. However, some updates were made to adapt for the Jade Ghost Wisp, creating new secret locations and opportunities to use the Wisp. Which is pretty much what I said. But it's nice to have it confirmed by Sega. It feels a little bit like a missed opportunity to me because Sonic Colors, whilst it's a really good game, it does have certain areas where things slow down, like precision platforming. I mean, precision platforming. Precision platforming for a Sonic game, so really not that precise. You know, you got these areas where it slows down and the action takes a, you know, slower pace, absolutely. That's kind of important as long as you can, like, go fast over it through a different route or something. But it slows down and you gotta do, like, usually like a zigzag jumping up platforms like that. It's fine. The only thing is, part of it, I think, was because it was being streamed, so there was input latency for me. That sort of thing doesn't necessarily work very well in Colors for me. That seems like that could have been an area to improve things a little bit. Maybe replace it with something a little bit more sort of straightforward, or, you know, just make the platforms a bit wider or something. Maybe they have done that. They haven't told me. But either way, that sort of feels like that, you know, it was a prime opportunity to try and kind of iron out some of the wrinkles, and make it the best Sonic Colors can be. I don't know whether they've done that. I asked them, they didn't give me a, like, detailed response. So. But as I've said time and time again, it's still Sonic Colors, it's still a really good game. That's the major takeaway from this preview. Not terribly surprising, I'm not gonna lie, but there's some differences that we've covered, aren't there? Some differences. Not many, but some. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you have a quick look at our new Jade Ghost subscribe button, and be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you boost towards that subscribe? That's the best you can do, Alex.